Hello, it is Thursday, the 10th of July, and I'm here at this place. It is in Upper Bidwell, and I'm just going to go for a walk along Horseshoe Lake that you see behind me. So, the sun is coming over the hill there. That is monkey rock, monkey face. The rock, it has a certain resemblance to a monkey face. I have been speaking on my previous videos so many times about the fact that when you listen to yourself, when you speak with yourself in such a way that you begin to listen to yourself, you begin to say all kinds of different things than the things which you were saying when you were not listening to yourself. And of course, you know, when you were not listening to yourself, you were still speaking in such a way that that your nervous system, your autonomic nervous system, which is a very important part of your body, because your autonomic nervous system is completely natural. And so, even though it is, of course, conditioned by previous circumstances, your autonomic nervous system can be relied on as in the same way as you can rely on your breathing, let's say. I mean, you're going to be breathing no matter what. And your autonomic nervous system is going to respond the way that it does no matter what. And so your autonomic nervous system, it will respond with what is called a fight, flight or freeze response, as long as you experience some kind of a threat, as long as you experience some kind of a danger. So you cannot sound like this the way I do. You cannot feel this way I do. This you feel how I feel? Can you sense how I feel? Can you sense how good I feel and how calm I feel and how peaceful I feel? Not threatened, not disturbed, not agitated. Well, that is because there is no threat. There's no fear. There's no conflict. And so my nervous system, my autonomic nervous system is telling me, my body is telling me, and of course you can say my autonomic nervous system, but you can simply say my body, My body is telling me that I'm safe, I'm happy. my body tells me everything is peaceful, everything is safe, and I feel comfortable. And so, if it was not the case, if let's say if I was feeling stressed and worried and upset and hurried and fearful and conflicted, I would sound very differently. So by listening to myself while I speak, I have always this particular possibility to go back to my sense of safety, to my sense of comfort, my sense of security, my sense of being at ease. And so when I hear this sound, or when anybody would hear this sound, they couldn't mistake this sound. And if there was such a thing as mistaking this sound, then something was going on within my body, yeah, because that can happen. It can be that a person who hears this mistakes this sound, mistakes my at easeness as still as something threatening. Well, that is because the person is listening to me and not to him or to herself. If that person would begin to listen to him or to herself and would begin to talk with himself about what he or she is feeling, yeah? Why is this person feeling the way that he does, that she does? What is this feeling of threat that he or she is feeling? How does it sound? How does it feel to sound like that? Doesn't feel good. Feels like something you would like to prevent. Feels like something you don't want to hear. Feels like something you want to move away from, yeah? And okay, how about doing that? How about moving away from that sound? What would that entail? Well, you could say, I don't like to hear that sound, and I would like to make a different sound. So, what does that mean? It means that that bad feeling that I'm having, this negative feeling, this threatening feeling that I'm having, this dreadful feeling that I'm having, I am deliberately telling myself that I don't want that. I am verbally instructing myself that I don't like to listen to that. I am articulating that it is my fear. I'm describing that it is my stress. I am acknowledging that it is my sadness, my frustration. It is my disappointment, my loss. It is everything that is negative in life. It is my hatred, my resentment, my jealousy. It is everything that I don't want, everything that is negative. And as I have described that to myself, as I have listened to that, I suddenly don't make that sound anymore. I suddenly don't feel that way anymore. I have changed my autonomic response. And there is no more fight, flight, freeze response. I'm not anymore reacting. I'm not anymore remembering bad stuff, not really anymore dredging up the past. I'm not anymore upset. As a matter of fact, I hear in the sound of my voice how peaceful I am. And I feel grateful that this instance where I was feeling this threat, this instance where I was feeling this negativity, this miserable, doom feeling, this moment that has actually brought me to where I am now. Yeah. And it is because I started to talk about it with myself. And yes, everybody can talk about what they are experiencing. Everybody can talk with themselves about what they are feeling or remembering or whatever is going on. And so then you sound like this. And then when you hear somebody else who is listening to him or to herself, and in this case you're just listening to me, there's no mistake. You know, you recognize when somebody is listening to him or herself. Yeah? Because you have also listened to yourself. So the moment you have done this, the moment you have done what I'm doing, you begin to recognize when people, maybe even without realizing it, are more authentic, are more in touch with themselves. Because what is this? What is this listening to yourself? It is about being in touch with yourself. And not listening to yourself while you speak is being out of touch with yourself. Do you see that shadow? So when you are not listening to yourself, you are just, you could say, looking at your shadow. You're listening to your shadow. And it seems as if that shadow is somewhat someone else. But you are yourself. And so when you listen to yourself, there's no difference anymore between you and your experience. You are your experience. And that is such a pleasant sensation. So being yourself is that you are your experience. You are what you are experiencing. And being yourself is describing your experience with your language correctly. So there is no difference between what you're saying and what you're feeling. And you could also say there's no difference between what you are saying, and what you are experiencing, or between what you are, before when you were having disembodied language, you were imagining that you had inner language. So you were imagining that you were thinking something. But when you are saying what you are supposedly thinking, you are actually saying what you are experiencing. You're saying what you are feeling. You're saying what is happening. And it is accurate. So it fits. And so then there is no thinking. Then there exists no inner language anymore. That the fantasy of inner language comes to an end when you are telling yourself what's going on. Yeah. I remember that I was here before. That was already quite some time ago. I was here before in front of these big weeds that are growing here. I remember I was sitting on that rock there, and I was throwing a big piece of clay into the lake. If you scroll back on my videos, you can probably still find that video where I was throwing a big piece of clay into the lake. It's so nice to walk here. Mm. Mm. Oh, here comes a whole bunch of geese. Mm. Mm. So, continuing with something that I was just saying, because I started to talk with you about this this pleasurable experience of being able to modify your own autonomic response, yeah. And so, if there is a fight, flight, or freeze response, you hear your own stress, you hear your own anxiety, you hear your own struggle. And so you can then decide to stop making those sounds. You can actually decide to not have that experience anymore. And you do that by allowing yourself to not produce that sound which involves your anger or your frustration. You simply recognize that sound. You have already made that sound millions of times. You've been making that sound your whole life. Yeah, the sound of disembodied language is something you are completely familiar with. You've endlessly made that sound. So you've endlessly expressed your stress, your worry, your fear, your disgust, your anxiety, your frustration. It just goes on and on. So when you just decide for yourself, by talking with yourself, oh, I do not have to make that sound. I can actually make this sound that I'm making now. And I prefer to make this sound. Then you are regulating your autonomic response, but you're also simultaneously creating with your language the contingency for your embodied language. So by stopping your disembodied language, you're creating the contingency for your embodied language. And so embodied language becomes possible because you have stopped your disembodied language. And it will happen because it can happen. And so then you speak without any fear, without any negativity, without any stress. You speak like this. And so enjoyable. And then, this is what I wanted to say. Then you have this wonderful, enjoyable sense of your own language. The sense of your own language, which is happening And you cannot miss it. It's so pleasant. It is so clear. You're using your language correctly. You're enjoying every word. Yeah. And in the beginning, you can consider this as your sanctuary of embodied language. Yeah. You create this. You create your own sanctuary for your embodied language. And so, in the beginning, you realize like, wow, I can do this. Can I do this? Yes, you can. And if you keep doing this, that sanctuary begins to make it possible for you to have your ongoing embodied language. Yeah. Your ongoing embodied language is creating and maintaining again and again that sanctuary. And you create your own reality with your embodied language. Yeah. And yeah, as you begin to become familiar with the difference between your disembodied language and your embodied language, you prefer your embodied language. And so your embodied language is continuously chosen, even though you may still be triggered again to have disembodied language, because that's going to happen. You are still going to experience moments where disembodied language is again triggered. And that's how you were conditioned. So that conditioning history, it still goes on, but there's not much anymore in you that you want to continue with that, because you want to have embodied language. You know you can have embodied language, and you are having embodied language every time you listen to yourself, you speak with yourself, you realize like, of course I can have embodied language, and of course I want embodied language. Why wouldn't I? It is so enjoyable. And here I am giving myself again this walk. I'm giving myself this wonderful opportunity to have this. I create this by making this video, and at the same time I'm letting you know that this is possible. And I'm inviting you to also begin to talk with yourself, so that in 2026 we can maybe walk together, we can maybe talk together, and we are able to share our embodied language together, our ongoing embodied language which is our language enlightenment. Yes. Ongoing embodied language is our language enlightenment. And I am walking here around this little lake, and I feel totally in bliss. And it is such a peaceful morning. And my words that I speak, they are in tune with the silence that is there when I don't speak. They're in tune with my body, which is so at ease. And there's no inner language. There's no mind. There's no thought. There's just this space